And I'm working as an intern, as a medical intern in the group of hospitals. So I recently took my exam, which is the STEP2CK, on 17th of December, which is after the pattern changed. And in today's video, I'll be discussing about my experience and what happened on the day of exam and how was the pattern changed and what remains unchanged. So here's what happened. USMLE site, official site, it claims that it has made certain changes in the pattern of STEP2CK and that those changes will be applied after 10th November. Now I was extremely nervous because I had already booked my date and I didn't have the time to extend it because of my busy internship schedule. So I looked it up online. I tried searching for people who gave their exam after 10th November, but I really couldn't find anything about it, and that just made me really anxious, even more anxious than before, because I didn't even know if UWorld was enough and what I was going to go through during the day of my exam. So I gave the exam anyway, and now that I'm a free bird now, I decided why not share this experience with you guys so that you are really well prepared for whatever comes up on that screen. So yeah, let's get started. Now, as the UWorld site had mentioned, there were few changes in the exam. Now, this was the first time that I gave STEP2CK. So, I don't know how the previous pattern exactly was. So, I'll be comparing this new pattern, this exam in the new format with UWSA2, which is UWorld Self-Assessment Form number 2, UWSA2. It's said to be the most relevant and most similar to the actual exam pattern. So, yeah, I'll be telling you about the differences that I observed between UWSA2 and the actual new format, STEP2CK. So what's changed? Ethics. The number of questions on ethics in USMLE Step 2 was always more than that of Step 1 because Step 1 is more knowledge oriented and Step 2 is more clinical oriented. But the official site states that it has further increased the number of ethical questions in UL Step 2 CK exam. And yes, it has. I found about 5 questions per block, which were just related to ethics. And so it sums up to about like 40 questions just on ethics in the entire exam. Some of the questions were really easy, like those mentioned in like those that you practiced in your word. But some of them were like really tough. Like I had to go through the entire question, go through all the options, and I marked the answer, but was still confused about it. So I flagged it so that I can review it later. Of course, I couldn't. Which brings me to the next topic, which is the length of questions. Questions have increased a little though compared to UWSs. But if you compare it with NBME questions, then there's a huge difference. So the length of questions actually goes like NBMEs, UWSs, step 2, step 2 and some of the questions were really long. Like me reading them took like 45 seconds. Now the questions on Dermat, Peds, ENT were short. I particularly found really long questions in biostats part, especially the drug trial ones, which contain the entire addressment of the drug, who took it, and which group was excluded, blah blah, all the relevant information. And the bad thing was that I couldn't even I couldn't save it or flag it for later, so I could review it later because those set of questions, like there were 2 to 3 following questions based on the same step, so I couldn't afford to ignore such questions. The good part was UWorld has recently added such questions after 10th November. So I was well acquainted with such scenarios and also the time crunch involved. Coming to biostat graphical questions, so I got like 8 questions in my entire exam related to the like graphs. I precisely remember it because 2 of those questions were like really difficult. Like I had to really stop and think and answer logically and stuff. But the rest 6 were a breeze and just apply numbers to the formula and you're done. It was just the relation between cutoff values and true positive, true negative, sensitivity, specificity, all of that was important. And yeah, that should be enough to solve these questions. So there were some like very few questions where I had like no idea of what it was trying to say. But some of my friends had them too. And I had like 2 such questions in the exam where I was like totally clueless and I kind of got the idea that maybe I should just move on and stop wasting my time here. Now coming to other subjects, CVS. So CVS has always had those audiovisual questions and it was the same thing here. I got 2 to 3 such questions and they were like that of UWorld exams. Coming to other subjects like medicine, surgery, ops, gynae, peds, they were easy and some of the questions were like ditto like those of UWorld. That sort of kept me sane throughout the exam. The only sad part was that I had spent a lot of my prep time in these subjects, like studying these subjects. And the tests seem to care more about biostats and ethics. So, yeah, the weightage clearly has shifted to biostats part and it's less about these subjects and more about ethics. Now the difficulty level. So the difficulty level hasn't really increased much. I mean, it's the same exam and the same knowledge level is required with slightly or in fact more information about the ethics section so that you don't waste a lot of time thinking about the options and ruling out the other options. Now what remains same? So it's the time. STEP2CK is still a 9-hour long exam and it has 8 blocks. Each block is 60-minute long and has about 40 questions. It's either 40 questions or less, like 38, like about 38 questions in some blocks. On an average, it's about 40 questions, right? Then there's 45 minutes break time and then 15 minutes intro part or the tutorial part, which is similar to that of UWorld and MBA exams. And free time from those 15 minutes gets added to your total break time. Now the icons on the screen. So the placement of icons on the screen is exactly as it is to the UWSAs. And there's this initial tutorial time or the tutorial of about 15 minutes, which sort of tells you where each icon is placed and all of that. But skip it because it's exactly similar to that of UWSA. So don't waste your time there. In fact, add these 15 minutes to your actual break time. That's much needed, right? Now coming to the study material part, I did UWorld like twice and online method almost twice. And I think both of them provided me with enough information to answer questions related to every subject except for the ethics part. And yes, what I'll strongly recommend is that keep solving those new questions that Google keeps on adding every week because that's like very similar to the actual exam. And yeah, I really loved it and it was extremely helpful. That's all, you guys. That's all I can think about of that 9-hour long exam. And God, I want to forget about all the mistakes that I might have made. Um, some of those questions still keep on haunting me like from time to time, but I guess that'll remain until I get my results. But yeah, I'm getting my results in like 2 weeks, and I'll be sharing more about my experience and what worked for me in case it did. With the next few days, I'll be discussing about the study materials I used and how relevant they were. That's all, you guys. I hope you liked this video, and if you did, give this video a nice big thumbs up, share with people like us, and subscribe to the channel. You know the drill. And yes, pray for me that I get decent marks. God, I'm really nervous. Till then, goodbye, good luck, and don't worry, give purpose. I'll see you guys in the next video.